Welcome to the Gruber Morning Show, our artificial intelligence podcast that we do every Wednesday at 10 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. Image behind me here is a rendering from artificial intelligence regarding the New York Times employee strike. And we'll talk about that here in a moment.
Pete, can you pull your mic up a little bit, please?
Sure. So, striking, and it turns out that there may be some AI involvement in this strike, and that's noteworthy. In the meantime, I've got an image here for you. This one is a rendering of what Egypt looked like, and this is AI actually chiming in. There's, of course, a lot of mystery. You know, how did the pyramids get built? How did they move these gigantic stone blocks without machinery that we're familiar with, at least, that could handle something like this? You know, they had basically ropes, elephants, humans, lots of humans, but still moving large objects like this just remains a mystery. So AI is beginning to weigh in, and here are some examples of what AI thinks happened back then. I've got a video here that I'm going to play for you as well. And what we're starting to see now, I'm going to go full screen here so that we can get a better view of this. Yeah, maybe it won't let me go full screen. But if you notice, we've got superhumans here. We've got very large dudes that are able to move these stones around. Now, this makes perfect sense if you think about it. These superhumans are actually portrayed in some of their statues as well. So maybe the mystery is solved. I don't know. What do you guys think back there in social media? Does this answer the question?
That looks completely realistic.
Doesn't it, though?
Yes, I believe it 100%.
The statues match. Now, somebody else here that was chiming in takes an issue with this, and once these images were posted on social media, and he says, Egypt never looked like this. We know what it actually looked like. We have reconstructions based on archaeology, and we have tons of surviving monuments, buildings, and their fragments. Do not claim that this is for educational purposes. There is nothing educational about this AI stuff. So this guy's not real happy with the results of this. But as you can see, this definitely answers the question. So, yeah, maybe. Again, if you're chiming in, feel free to, take issue with anything that we're presenting, saying, or add to it. And let us know where you're coming in from. That's always interesting to our audience. So another interesting thing that happened within the last week, and this podcast generally covers the newest things related to AI. And as always, there are many more topics than we have the ability to report on. So we cherry pick, and we'll pick the ones that we thought were the most interesting. This one has to do with the AI domains that are available for sale. And in recent years, the article goes, the .ai domain name has emerged as one of the fastest appreciating digital assets. The .ai extension has gained global prominence due to its association with artificial intelligence. And, this is really reminiscent for me of the 90s in the last century when the internet began to become prominent. And there was a mad dash to register domains. And there were people that would register and then sell, like Pepsi.com. And it was a cottage industry for a while, and then some regulations came into play, and it began to curb that. But currently, the gold rush appears to be for .ai domains. And the article says, acquire a golden .ai domain for your next big adventure. A great domain name can give your new brand an advantage. Here are the top 3 .ai domains to consider. dit.ai, like Claude AI, and XAI. DIT is the famous model in AI world. Sora is based on DIT or DIT. Medical.ai, best for the medical AI industry. Now, of course, these have probably already been taken, but in case they haven't and you're listening, check it out, and it may be worth purchasing. By the way, guys, what do domains cost these days? I think we just picked up evpreserve.com.
Doesn't it vary, like depending on the topic or the keyword?
Yeah, it gets all over. It's like $12 to $14.
Wow, that's much cheaper. Back in the day, it was over $100, 120, 125. The final one they list here is retail.ai. It's best for the retail AI industry, they say. And of course, there are, hundreds of thousands more that you may consider. Tell you an interesting story about our domain, Gruber.com. We began to research it and try to figure out whether it's available in 1995. And it was taken. And, usually you kind of, you're disappointed and you start looking for an alternative. In our case, we actually tracked down the owner of the domain through internic.com. And they used to list who the owner was. No contact information, if I recall, but we had to track him down. It turns out it was a university student in the Midwest somewhere who had had the foresight to register Gruber.com. So I contacted him and I explained who we were, obviously the name. And he said, I knew that at some point in time, a company was going to come along and express interest in getting this domain. My last name is Gruber, but I recognize that the internet is for commerce. It's for businesses. And I'm more than happy to give it to you. It floored us. We ended up sending him a nice gift. I forget what it was, but we were able to actually secure our domain. Now, that story doesn't play out as well for many other companies that attempted to secure their domain, especially if it was a large corporation, like American Express, for example, and somebody had the foresight to register and wanted lots of money or wasn't willing to sell it. There's a story about Elon, actually, trying to get Tesla.com. They actually sent one of their people to this guy's house, and he sat on his doorstep and eventually was able to convince them to sell it to them. And I think they paid like $75,000 or something like that for Tesla.com. But anyway, that's the story on these .ai domains. It's the new gold rush, so scramble and see if you can get creative and figure out which one is going to be important in the future. And maybe you're sitting on a gold mine after buying it. Instagram, Rodney Fontenot joined us. He said, there is evidence of advanced construction methods in ancient Egypt. Every bit as amazing as superhumans, though. It is a fascinating topic to ponder and to think about. And it may just be that, AI helps us discover what really happened. Instagram, tjs.tech.niche says, should have given him a Roadster. Haha. Okay. That's true. The Roadsters weren't in existence in 95, unfortunately, but that would have been tempting. All right. So moving along here, let's get right into this topic with the New York Times. So the CEO of Perplexity, Aravind Srinivas, has offered to cross the picket lines for the New York Times and provide services to mitigate the effect of this strike with the tech workers. Now, who is Perplexity? Well, let me read that to you. Perplexity AI is a conversational search engine that uses large language models to answer queries. Its developer, Perplexity AI Inc., is based in San Francisco. Founded in 2022, very new company, Perplexity generates answers using sources from the web and cites links within the text responses, like Wikipedia. So it was really a problem for the New York Times, the timing of this strike. The most important election in the history of the United States, which needed to be covered November 5th, is now in jeopardy because they strike. On November 4th is when they decided to strike. So they're scrambling at this point to attempt to solve this problem. And so the workers that are represented in this strike provide software support and data analysis for the Times. Sounds like functions that AI could handle. The workers are asking for a 2.5% wage increase. That's not a staggering amount. Not like this last strike that we had, where the dock strikers, were well into the double digits in terms of their percentages. But they want to cement a current 2-day per week in office expectation, among other things. So they only want to come to work a couple days a week. I have some personal views about working from home. There are certain jobs that you just simply can't do from home. We have maintenance functions here, for example, in the buildings. How the hell do you do that at home? And we find that it requires an enormous amount of self-discipline in order to be able to handle all of the potential distractions that could happen in your home if you're attempting to work from home. So it's questionable whether these office workers that are providing software support and data analysis can function from at home. All right. So they say, but the company has decided, now these are the strikers, that our members aren't worth enough to agree to a fair contract and stop committing unfair labor practices, is what the Guild wrote on X. Well, one has to question timing. Guys, okay, maybe you can strike, but why strike at a moment in time when history is being made, when it's going to cripple the New York Times? And how do you think the people that are in the negotiating seat at the New York Times are going to feel about your timing and their willingness to negotiate? Anyway, things to consider. So they say, the strikers, they have left us no choice but to demonstrate the power of our labor on the picket line, says Kathy Zhang, the organization's unit chair, in a statement. And of course, the publisher, A.G. Sulzberger, criticized a strike 2 days ahead of the U.S. presidential election, saying in a statement, hundreds of millions of people are depending on a Times journalism on Election Day and afterward. And it is troubling that the Tech Guild would try to block this public service at such a consequential moment in our country. So the picketers are currently demonstrating in front of the New York Times building in New York, as negotiations, of course, is taking place. And what our thumbnail there, or background, suggests is that the robots are coming, and they're here. And there's some interesting slogans that are on the robots. Robot Scab is one of them. We will replace. I can't read the smaller, finer print. And then, of course, the picketers are saying, no AI in journalism. Stop the robots. Writers over robotism. I have a suggestion. And I'm an employer. We don't have any unions here. And I find that if you treat your employees fair and better than the unions, you really don't have a union threat. So my advice is, this is a bad time to strike, folks, or to hold a gun to your employer's head, because you're now forcing them to explore other options. When options now are numerous, we're no longer talking about human beings crossing the picket lines as scabs and replacing you while you're striking. We're talking about forcing the employers to explore options that may permanently replace you. Things like the SAG-AFTRA strike, the writer's strike. Hey, we've got AI software that can do the writing, and they can most likely do it better than humans, and do it 24/7 without paid vacations, holidays, sick days, and need to sleep, eat, lunch breaks. You add all that up. These machines are able to work 24/7 all year long, and the cash outlay is one time to buy a humanoid robot and maybe some maintenance subscriptions to, ChatGPT 4, whatever it is, right? So my suggestion is chill with the striking at this moment, because it's a bad time. All right, and here's a picture, by the way, of the New York Times within the next few days. Can we bring that up, guys? This is what the New York Times office area is going to look like, and possibly permanently, not just during the strike.
Hey, Pete.
Yeah.
Do you think that the part of the reason why they're striking is because they might not get a chance to in the near future? Like this might be their last chance to actually strike for their jobs or for better pay or whatever.
That's a good point, Aaron. That's possible. But again, I find it hard to believe that that the company now that they're striking against is going to operate in good faith after being crippled during one of the most important news events in recent history. It just seems to me that it's driving them to the alternatives. By the way, the term scab, right? When they posted this on X, many on X immediately castigated Srinivas, who is the CEO of Perplexity, for acting as a scab. And the definition is it's a derogatory term for people willing to perform the jobs of striking workers. It is widely considered a disreputable behavior in matters of labor and equity. By undercutting collective action, scabs limit the ability of workers to bargain with those in a position of power. They asked Perplexity for a comment, and Srinivas responded to TechCrunch's post on X saying, the offer was not to replace journalists or engineers with AI, but to provide technical support on a high-traffic day. All right? If you buy that, let's go with it. Instagram, TJS Technique says, haha, love you guys. Thanks for joining us, by the way. So there you have it. We've got a strike that is going on, and again, it's in the age of AI when strikes may be a bad idea. One of the things that we like to cover is the technologies associated with AI and futuristic new ways of doing things that AI is helping us now to innovate and to bring in new inventions. Well, the one that's been on the drawing board for, ever since the dawn of humanity, I suppose, is the notion of fusion energy, being able to replace all of the methods that we currently have, that most of which are destroying the planet and its habitability. There is a recently inaugurated testing at the JT60SA Tokamak reactor in Tokyo, Japan. It's about 85 miles north of Tokyo, which began operation December 1st. And this reactor signifies a significant step in long-standing fusion energy. It's a 6-story structure, one of the most advanced reactors globally, and it has the unique capability to heat plasma to temperatures of 200 million degrees Celsius, 360 million Fahrenheit, and conditions required to achieve nuclear fusion, which is a process that is exactly like the sun, that could produce virtually limitless energy with minimal environmental impact. The Tokamak is a technology first developed by the Soviet Union in 1958. Now that's an interesting concept or tidbit. It's a donut-shaped chamber where the magnetic coils enclose gaseous hydrogen fuel. Within this enclosed space, magnetic fields spin the gas at high speeds, eventually creating helium plasma. Fusion now occurs when the temperature and pressure reach levels high enough to overcome the repulsion between hydrogen atoms, fusing them together and releasing massive amounts of energy. In other words, this is the equivalent of perpetual motion on steroids. The EU Energy Commissioner, Kadri Simpson, called the JT60SA in Tokyo, Japan, the most advanced tokamak in the world. And it won't ultimately produce sustainable energy on its own, but it serves as the prototype for more scalable systems. In France, for example, there is the International Thermonuclear Experiment Reactor, ITER they call it, that's under construction. And ITER is expected to become operational by 2025. Folks, that's next year. It is a multinational project aiming to demonstrate nuclear fusion's feasibility for global energy production. Fusion energy holds extraordinary promise in that it is the source of near unlimited energy without any greenhouse gas emissions. And it will, of course, reduce our reliance on fossil fuels and minimize carbon emissions. The fusion temperatures required for these reactors are many times hotter than even the sun's core, and incredibly high pressure, and it will be demanding both on advanced materials and precise control of the reaction. But they're making progress, so that's great news. There is, in parallel, an alternative fusion method that is gaining traction in California at the National Ignition Facility, NIF. They've also made breakthroughs with inertial confinement fusion, which is a different fusion approach that uses powerful lasers. In 2023, they actually had a breakthrough in that they were able to demonstrate that this technology will work. So stay tuned, folks, because it looks like the fossil fuel burning method of creating energy is on its way out, and that once we get these cleaner forms, we're hoping that the planet isn't too far gone where we're able to bring it back in line. Instagram, TJS Technique says Elon is 100% pro-AI, and he's now in office with Trump. Any foresight on that? Well, whatever you feel about the two candidates that just recently have been vying to get into that office or into that spot, my personal opinion is neither one of them have the all of the equipment and all of the knowledge to properly run this country. And of course, like anyone that gets in office, especially people like Elon, who also recognizes he's not able to do it all, they develop teams, they build teams, strong team building. And that's Trump's first move, is to bring in someone like Elon, who is known for his intelligence and cost-cutting ability. And then, of course, other cabinet members and other advisors. So my views on that is, I think that Trump is going to be able to bring in the type of people, and hopefully he'll listen to them. Remember, there's some conjecture about his inability to take advice, which I don't think is going to be a problem the second term, because remember, he was in office the first time, and he seemed to have made some gains even back then. Social media guys, do you have any views on the Elon involvement in our government going forward?
Are we going to get Elon early Tesla or Elon off his rocker?
Well, yeah, good question. I don't know. The rest of you have any opinions on that?
I think the only thing that scares me is I get a little scary when billionaires have a foot in the door, a little too close in the door. You know, I mean, Elon could easily, if Trump does, you know, help him out with giving him the position that he promised, I mean, he could definitely go after some of the government sectors that have been going after him for the last couple of years, you know, almost a retaliation. So that scares me a little bit. Not saying that we need more regulation, but what I'm also saying is we don't need somebody to retaliate out of, out of anger,
out of resentment. Yes.
Yeah, and yeah. Now he's, now he can do whatever he wants. You know.
Well, the what I find is that government in the United States, and probably anywhere, has bloated to the point where it is extraordinarily inefficient and counterproductive. And Elon's history, even at Tesla and SpaceX, is that cost cutting from time to time is something that they focus on. We badly need that in government. We need smaller government, less governance, in other words, less intrusion. We need to let the free market economies have some say. So I expect Elon is going to bring that perspective to this administration. And remember, Trump himself is a businessman. What we've needed in government for the longest time, not career politicians, bureaucrats. What we've needed is people that have a profit motivation, that have successfully run companies. And having those two guys and most likely other people on the cabinet, I think is going to represent a refreshing change. All right, here's another interesting article. Let's see, I have a picture for you. Let's bring that up. There we go. The age of celebrities is over. And there are a number of reasons for that. And these celebrities are becoming nervous. Remember in the last podcast, we talked about Nicolas Cage being very concerned about the fact that AI, avatars, and Sora, and some of these AI tools can replace him. What is going to change, however, is the deification of celebrities. Remember that humans tend to deify. I mean, the most recent one is Taylor Swift. I have no idea. I mean, I'm sure the young lady has some talent, but is it billions of dollars worth of talent? Is her musical skills worth billions of dollars? She plays some guitar, she sings, she has a vocal range, of course. But she's certainly not a Beethoven or a Mozart or, any of these magnificent composers. So the celebrities going away is inevitable. And here are a number of reasons for that occurring. Anyone today can build a following on social media. We're proof of that. For 40 years, we were in the high-tech business. And here we are with over 1 million subscribers with Gruber Motor Company in a span of 4 to 5 years and continuing to grow and build. The next reason is audiences are split across many platforms and niches. There is so much variety available today. There's also less mystique because of constant social media exposure. And people tend to prefer authentic content creators. Remember, these are actors. There's a certain persona that they emit in movies that may have nothing to do with their core personalities. They're great actors. What we find in social media is even these crappy podcasts where the people are totally real, unrehearsed, unscripted. I was watching one. H3 is one of the biggest ones on the planet. What is it, Jesse? Tens of millions of subscribers? How many are there?
I don't know. There's a lot.
Yeah, like 40 million or something. Well, anyway, it's huge, right? And I watched about 5 minutes of their podcast. It was completely unscripted. They began clapping at one point. There were like 4 or 5 of them. And then they tried to see who could clap the fastest. And then even while someone was speaking, they would clap to drown out the speech. And people find this fascinating. So I think we've lowered the bar a bit on what people are willing to watch and what they're entertained by. And of course, authentic content is definitely important. Another reason, traditional media gatekeepers are losing influence. Actors are losing influence. People today also have shorter attention spans. TikTok is a prime example of that. If it doesn't squeeze into 5 seconds and you've captivated them, they're gone. They're out of there. And finally, there are more ways to make money outside of Hollywood. So there you have it. The age of celebrities is over, and those are some of the reasons. Got another article here, and this one has to do with Sam Altman. Let's see if I've got a picture of that to give you some perspective on that. No, I guess I don't. All right. Anyway, OpenAI is beefed up its ChatGPT generative AI chatbot with search engine capabilities. And the threat now becomes, they say, that it's taking on Google, who has had a decades-long dominance. So we'll have to see whether OpenAI's ChatGPT new AGI version is going to be able to compete with Google and their search engine. This chatbot, by the way, provides real-time information from across the web, and it's able to instantly, of course, just like Google, give you information. All right, here's another interesting image. And this one shows an Optimus type robot that is standing over someone sleeping. I think Cass, who has a high sensitivity to anything AI and robots, finds this to be a bit uncanny. Is that right, Cass? Do you want to weigh in on that one?
Yeah, I'm not a fan. No, thank you. There's always a chance that a robot could get hacked. So, no, this will not be in my house.
We did talk about that yesterday, and my own personal opinion on that always has been anything infinitely more intelligent than us, I can't imagine is going to find any value in doing harm of any type. However, as was pointed out in yesterday's podcast, there are such things as bad actors that could hack. And you have a point there. All right, so let's say that this particular Optimus robot has not been hacked and that he is standing guard over his human partner. So the article reads like this: the new Tesla robot called Optimus will watch you sleep overnight and monitor your breathing, heart rate, sleep patterns, and then offer you protection or assistance in case of emergencies during your sleep. So if you have a medical condition, I would say that this probably would have great value to you. They say it will also protect you from any home invasion by thieves or an uninvited third party. Good point. This robot most likely is going to be stronger than a human, and it can protect you. It can also alert you. Remember that the human senses are fairly limited. With these machines, we've already talked about an expanded electromagnetic spectrum, being able to sense vibration, much expanded visual capabilities into the infrared ranges, the ultraviolet ranges, into the radio frequency ranges. You name it, it's going to go well beyond what humans are capable of doing. And vision has the same type of capabilities as these machines begin to become augmentations for us. They say that this Optimus robot will also help you with everyday tasks, such as cleaning, cooking, and even making drinks. So they ask, what is your opinion about this? So I'm going to ask the audience if you guys want to chime in on this. We've got the ability to have Optimus-type robots that are actually part of our household now. Highlander just joined us. He says, hi, gang. Welcome. All right. And by the way, there's some predictions here. How many of these humanoid robots are going to be on the planet? Well, Elon's thought on this is he thinks there will be 10 billion humanoid robots by the year 2040. And remember, that exceeds the population of humans on Earth. They will cost between $20,000 to $25,000. That's a whole lot cheaper than an employee, isn't it? If you think about it. Okay, we're going to wrap up here. We have, I think there's one other image that I was going to pop up here, and that was the image regarding the suggestion that you should be polite to AI. And here's what research says about it. It turns out that science is backing up what might be an excessive digital courtesy. Recent research has uncovered a fascinating dual benefit for treating AI systems with respect. It does not only significantly improve the quality of the AI outputs, but it also enhances our leadership capabilities in ways that we're only beginning to understand. So politeness isn't just about etiquette anymore. It measurably improves AI performance. And I'm going to have to try that because I grumble constantly about the dumbing down of certain AI programs that we use here regarding rendering images. DALL-E today generates images that have drooping eyes, cartoonish. It no longer has realism. Grok is still much more realistic, but it is very narrow and it can't spell worth a damn. I mean, you give it a slogan and it's going to butcher virtually every single word. even though you've given it in the prompt precisely what the words are. So they found that this is true in a number of languages, English, Chinese, and Japanese, for example, and they found that impolite prompts often resulted in poor performance, including increased errors, stronger biases, and notable omission of important information. On the flip side, they discovered a more polite prompt consistently outperforms the rude ones. So we're wrapping up here. I'm going to leave you with that. I'm Pete Gruber. Join us during these AI podcasts every Wednesday. Appreciate you joining us. We'll see you next time.